This is That One Audition with Alyshia Ochse.
Hey writers, what are your New Year's goals? Forget hitting the gym or dry January. How about writing a brand new TV pilot? Hi, I'm Tanya Bhattacharya. I'm a working writer, co-executive producer who's written on over a dozen shows, including Bel Air, A Million Little Things, and Ginny and Georgia. And I'm also the founder of TV and feature film writing school Script Anatomy. I am super excited to bring back Script Anatomy's Pilot Palooza 30-day TV writing challenge in 2025, starting January 1st. With the challenge, you'll develop and write a new pilot in 30 days with me as your guide. Each day, you'll get lessons, tips, tools, and assignments to help build your story from concept through development, outline, and draft. We'll cover all the fundamental building blocks necessary to write a kick-ass script. And we'll use specific shows as examples so you can see how what you're learning applies and is illustrated in every single pilot. You'll also be able to connect with other writers on a private forum. Then on day 31, we'll celebrate your accomplishments together on a live Zoom. What are you waiting for? If you're ready to commit to your writing dreams, then you'll find this fun and motivating. And you'll start the year with a new sample by February 1st. All of this for just $175. That's less than a fancy coffee a day. So why don't you check out pilotpalooza.com for details and sign up?
I'm so pumped to do this. Okay, so I have to ask, because friend of the pod, do you know Tom Nowicki?
Tom Nowicki, I know that name.
He is an actor as well. Just did Bad Monkey. I mean, he's been working for forever.
I love it.
He came from the wrestling background. And you two are literally the only people that I've ever interviewed. And I know you didn't go full tilt into wrestling, but just coming from this, I need to know this transition of from shot put to arm wrestling into acting. How does that even come to be? Actually, even before that, Dot, how does one get into like world arm wrestling?
Okay, this is going way back. I'm 60. So back when I think I was 19, a friend of mine, I grew up in Northern California in a small town of, then it was like 1,200 people. Mm-hmm. And so one of our neighboring small towns had a fall festival. They had it every year. So one of my friends and I just happened to go, and they had an arm wrestling tournament. And I'm like, looking at the trophies, I'm like, these beautiful, like 4-foot trophies for this little tiny tournament. And I'm like, okay, that would be really fun. And I was strong because I was weightlifting and I was a shot putter in junior college. I graduated high school in 82. So at this time I was in junior college and throwing the shot and stuff, and also powerlifting. I went from 5'6" to 6'1" in 8th grade. Whoa. So all of my pain, I grew 6 inches in 1 year. I think that's more than 6 inches. Yeah, I think it's 7, something like that. But I would get up every morning and I would cry because I couldn't stand up straight because it was in my back, my lower back. In fact, I grew so fast that doctors think that I actually fractured the lower vertebra from growing so fast in that period. It was like in 6 months, I grew like 7 inches. That's wild. Yeah. So I would straighten up in the doorway before I even could go downstairs. And I'd get up and I'd straighten up in the doorway and I'd just cry because it just hurt so damn bad. And I'd go downstairs and we had a little dairy farm. So I would have to do my chores and stuff. And then, I'd stand in the shower after that and I'd just let the hottest water I could take run on my back. My siblings were in sports. And so, of course, I love sports. So it was not an option not to be in sports, which I couldn't imagine not. So that's when I started lifting weights to strengthen my lower back, because the doctor said that would be good and to strengthen up the muscles around the spine and the erectors and all this stuff going on. So that's how I got into the weightlifting more than just lifting to throw for the shot put. So we were at this tournament. I entered. It was, they had refs, they had the standard table and all this stuff. And I won the tournament at 19. And so I had no idea what I was doing other than, what we knew. And I had been watching these other matches going. So one of the women that I beat was a world champion in a middleweight class. And at that time, I was probably 260 maybe. So I would have been in the heavyweights. But Lori Cole, and she's responsible for me going on to, she said, you got to come up in Northern California in Petaluma is where they held the world championships every year. And I used to watch those on Wide World of Sports. And I found out all the information from Lori, and I went up there, I think it was like a month later, and not knowing any more than I knew at the last match or tournament rather, I went up there and I won my first world title at 19.
Oh my gosh. So then you go on for like the next, is this information right? The next 10 years competing?
No, I won 15 world titles.
Okay. and so there's one, that's amazing. So does one retire? Does one retire from that? Or could you still be participating in that? Because I love where it shows up in your work, because that's kind of cool when you see it show it up on certain screens. Yeah.
Exactly. My knee, I wanted to keep throwing, and I still want to go back and try and get the, because I'm 60, there's a different category for throwing the shot put, the seniors. Mm-hmm. And I want to go back and see if I can get the women's record in the women's shot put. But I just had, my right knee was replaced 11 years ago. My left knee, I just had replaced a year ago, September. My left shoulder was replaced with a titanium. So I think I have to dial those in before I can even go back. But so that started back in, so that had to have been 83. I went to the World Championships and I won my first world title. It was my second match or tournament ever. And I was like, okay, this is so much fun. And we won a little bit of cash. It wasn't a lot of money. I think it was like $500 I won. But for a kid who's driving tractor and during the summer was my jobs and making $5 an hour, that was a lot of money, Yeah.
And at this point too, does it have a performative nature to it that's similar to wrestling? Or that's what.
Oh my God. There were some guys like Grizz. He was one of the guys. He's also in Over the Top. He's a guy who he would to like try and psych out the other opponent like they do in wrestling. They're the big time wrestling. He would go up to the table and open his mouth and he'd have a mouthful of live crickets and they'd jump out all over the table. Or he'd go up there with a little cigar, smoking it, and it's lit, and just eat it. And just crazy shit. And it was so funny. And it would really psych some people out.
I can imagine. Did you have a stage name during this time?
No, it was just that. Yeah.
Okay. So then how do we make this, what happens to make there to be like a transition in career? Okay.
Well, for college, I got a scholarship for track and field from junior college. I went from junior college to Fresno State. I got a full ride for track and field. So while I was training there, I was still competing arm wrestling, doing a track and field. And because of Bob McKay, who was my throwing coach at junior college, who was an incredible and still is an amazing man, but he was big in the Highland Games.
Okay.
The strength games. Bob trained me and got my back and so strong. Like when I first started training with him, there's the glide and the shot put and also the spin. Well, he taught me the spin in my first track meet. I picked up 5 feet.
Wow, that's a lot.
It was huge. Yeah. So I would do deadlifting exhibitions in junior college. So when I was at Fresno State, I was doing a deadlifting. That's just, where you stand up and the weight is straight down like mid-thigh for those that don't know. And I could lift a lot of weight. I think my max in an exhibition was like 518. And it was pretty good. So I would do that. Well, I got asked to come to a bodybuilding show. And one of the ladies who was a bodybuilder, she and her husband and I became friends. And they lived in Bakersfield and I was in Fresno. So we kept in touch. And so Shirley Eason is her name. And Shirley is the reason I'm doing this today, because Shirley she was a bodybuilder and incredible. I think Shirley was 6'2". She was an alternate when after we'd been friends for a while, she got on to American Gladiators. So Shirley played Skye on American Gladiators, and she was amazing. Mm-hmm. And so one day Shirley calls me and she said, Dot, they're auditioning for a new show, kind of like American Gladiators, but it's more medieval. It was called Knights and Warriors. And I'm like, oh my God. And so she gave me Carol O'Leary, the very first casting director I ever talked to, gave me all of her information. I thought, what the hell? I have nothing to lose. I'm working for the county. At this time, I graduated college and I was working juvenile probation because I majored in criminology. And so I'm working juvenile probation in Fresno for the county. And I come down, I audition. I talk about knowing nothing. I've never taken an acting class. I never knew anything. So Shirley called me and I came down, and everybody laughs at this story because so I come down and the first day is all physical agility. And at my tallest, I was 6'4". And I was probably about 240, 245 when I came down to audition. And I was really fast for my size and strong. And because I'd been working out, I was still training for shot put. I was already out of college for a good couple of years. This was in 90, I think. We started the auditions. So I came down and the first day was all physical agility. And they said to me, well, we're going to watch all the tapes. And there was at least 200-300 women auditioning for these 4 spots. So I'm like, okay. So they said, well, if we want you to come back, we're going to have you come back tomorrow for a cold read. And I'm like, I had a cold read. Never heard it in my life. So I'm like, well, geez, okay, we're warriors. So is it in cold? So I'm thinking we're going to read in a freezer because I had literally had no idea what that meant. So then I'm like, okay, if you hear from us from 8:30, you'll be back tomorrow. So 8:30 came and went, and I'm like, oh, well, I had a blast today. It was so much fun. And then like a little bit later, I got the call and they said, Dot, can you come back tomorrow for a cold read? And again, I was still not knowing, and I didn't want to sound like an idiot. So I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. I said, oh, you know what would somebody wear for like this cold read? Because I'm thinking it better be something warm. And they said, well, just wear your best warrior outfit. And I'm like, okay. I have no idea. So I threw together, cut up a sweatshirt, tied stuff around my head, my arms, and I had these zebra print white and black workout pants. And I wore that. So I go in and they said, yeah, go ahead and have a seat. We'll come get you. The sides are on the table. Thank God there was what are sides? Exactly. And I said, so thank God there was only one stack of papers there, because then I figured it out that that's what the dialogue and stuff that they wanted us to do. So then I go into this soundstage and there's like 15 people behind this big table and I couldn't see them because of the lights on us. So I did the audition and then they wanted me to improv. And I had never improv before. I mean, I knew what it was, obviously, but I just went for it. I said, I have nothing to lose. I have a full-time job going back to it. I'm just going to have fun. And so I just went for it. And they said, okay, we'll call you when we figure this out. And 2 weeks later, I'm sleeping because I didn't have to go to work till 3 that day. And I'm sleeping and the phone rings and I said, hello. And they said, is Dot there? I said, this is Dot. And they said, hi, Dot, this is Carol O'Leary. And I'm like, hi, Carol. And in my head, I'm going, who the hell's Carol O'Leary? Because you're asleep. And she said, how would you like to be a warrior? And I just cried. I said, oh my God.
Oh my. And then how long were you a warrior? How long did this go?
Well, I still feel like I know nothing. But so I found out all the information. I came down. We had meetings. We had to do wardrobe and all that stuff. I was like a kid at Disneyland because it was so new and so much fun. And so we shot the pilot and then they say, they never know if they're going to sell it or not. So then they sold it. And so we did the pilot and then we did 26 episodes.
That's, way to get paid to learn, but also even like a different type of learning. So just to catch the audience up, if they're listening to this, not watching, you've done over 75 television shows, and that's not counting the amount of episodes of each show. So just to so you start in this ground, how does that translate into what was the first show you did? It was Married with Children, Full House, Full House, and then Married. children. Is that something where you're on this show, so they're starting to call for a specific type of role that they need? Or you start going to actual auditions?
Well, one of the guys on Knights of Warriors, because it was 4 men, 4 women, one of the guys on Knights of Warriors hooked me up with his agent, who was more of a character agent at the time. After we were done with Knights of Warriors, I got to go on some auditions, and Knights of Warriors was a SAG, AFTRA show.
Oh, which at that time we were split. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were split. And so in, I think it was 94. Yeah, 94, I auditioned for Full House, and that's how I got my SAG card.
I love
it. Yeah.
And then it's like,
yeah.
Dot, I do this whenever I'm looking at people's IMDb's. You never stop working. There's never been a year that you've quote unquote sat in a valley and not received, you haven't been invited to a set. So I'm really curious if you are continuing to go on instinct, or at this point, are you like, okay, I'm going to try and figure out this whole like acting thing. Like, do you ever actually go to school? Because you're getting paid to be at school, essentially getting to visit all these sets. It's all different. You pick it up as you go.
I did a couple acting classes, and I've gotten some. Eva Charney, who is one of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life, and we're still real good friends. And Eva was a Broadway actress, and she is a dialogue coach on a lot of shows now. And in fact, when I first met her, I was doing the Frangela project. I can't remember what year that was, but it was Francis and Angela, and it was a comedy, and it was so silly. And like Keegan-Michael Key and Mo Collins were on it, and it was one of the most fun shows ever. And so I did an episode on that, and I met Eva. And then I ran into her on another set where she was the dialogue coach. And so she's helped me so much. And she doesn't tell me how to do specific things, just the things you need to hear. Like all of us need to hear, I think, every once in a while. Remember, this is the first time you're hearing it. This is the first time you're saying it. Yeah. You're not reading it off a piece of paper.
Exactly. Yeah. Getting back to the truth of the moment and in the discovery.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I always ask that one audition. Now I'm curious if it's going to be the one that when I look at your resume, I'm like, how did that land where? So when I say that one audition, because you've done over 100 different projects, is there one that comes to mind?
God, there's a lot that come to mind. What one were you thinking?
I wanted to know about Nip Tuck, because then I feel like Nip Tuck, then it opens an oasis into more roles and more things. And I was wondering, because you did few episodes of that.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you didn't know Ryan Murphy or any of them beforehand, unless you did. And maybe that's how that audition came to be.
I actually, like, one of the things I told my agent when I was still with him is that if there's something that, I mean, because I'm no dandelion. I'm like, I was 6'4", and we'll just pretend it was in 240s. And so I'm like, if there's a role that is not degrading towards women and it says it's for a man, put my name in and see if they think outside the box.
I loved it.
Yeah.
And that was all your idea of like, let's just kind of push gender pushing back on roles.
And don't make it about gender. Put it about someone who can do something. And so my first Nip Tuck was for a guy to play a grip. And that's when I met Rosie O'Donnell. She was doing this show on Nip Tuck within a show, and this light falls on her, and this grip comes in and lifts the light off of her. And it was a couple lines, and I did that. And I got the part. It was me and like 12 guys in the room to go in for an audition.
Dot, I love this. I'm so glad I asked about this one. And when you went in for the audition, because when I also teach acting, and we do a lot of gender swapping. I don't even call it, because you don't need it, right? Like, honestly, it's relationship based and it's story based. Right. And sometimes that gender could really be interchanged. But what I notice what actors sometimes do is women that are like, well, I'm going to be a guy now. Like, I'm like, no. You're just bringing you to it. Yeah. So I'm curious, in that audition, what you were doing other than probably just doing Dot. I probably answered my question, but you saying, hey, I want to go in.
Right.
How were you approaching the material for that audition? You just...
As if it was a woman I'm not going to go in there and try and play a guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm a strong woman. So why not be a fucking strong woman? Do you know what I mean?
A strong woman being a grip.
Yeah.
So then was that a one-off episode that turned into 3 episodes?
Well, that one, and they were years apart.
Oh, man, you go in multiple times. Really?
Yeah, I went in and then I came back and I played Roma Mafia's best friend. I did 2 episodes. I love it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, they have you listed as Tess for all 3. So I thought it was.
Yeah, they kept the name. Yeah.
Kept going. So it was kind of a different, it wasn't the same. The grip didn't turn into something else later.
No, it brought me back. And then while Ryan was doing that, the same time he was doing the pilot for Glee, he was doing a pilot called Pretty Handsome. Mm-hmm. And I got an audition for that. And this is after, I think I'd done just 1 nip tuck at this time. I think so. So I go in for this audition for Pretty Handsome, and this role was unbelievable. And it was the first time because the other time was on Glee, is where I played a trans female to male. And I ended up getting the job, and Alexandria Billings played my wife on the show. I played all of my scenes with Alex, and if not her, it was Joseph Fiennes, who I just fell in love with talking to that man. He's as beautiful as he is inside as he is outside. He's one of the kindest people I've ever worked with. It was Carrie Ann Moss, Joseph Fiennes, Blythe Danner, Robert Wagner, Niecy Nash. It was ridiculous cast.
So then your relationship with Ryan is really developing, because I want to know if the stuff that I've read online about Glee is true. Like, how did you get on Glee? Is all the rumors about you stopping Brad in the grocery store true?
We saw each other, and Brad, of course, was one of the writers, producers on Pretty Handsome. Mm-hmm. And so I saw him at a grocery store, and we hugged and stuff. I hadn't seen him in a year. And I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? I haven't, what's going on? And he said, we're just wrapping up the first season of Glee. And I said, oh my God. I said, you guys come. And I'm like, I talk to everybody, and just ask my wife, and I talk to everybody, and it's like, I just love them. And I'm like, they're us. I treat everybody exactly the same, And I said, come on, you guys, write me something. And he goes, well, can you sing? And I said, well, I'm no Mariah Carey, but I think I can carry a tune. And he laughed. And I said, tell Ryan, I said, come on, you guys, write me something. And he goes, okay, I'll tell Ryan. So we talked for a while, and then we went and cut to 2 months later. I get a call from my agent, and they said, the people from Glee called, and they want to know what you're doing starting mid-July. They are writing you a character. And I said, oh my God. And it was a guest star, but I don't care. It's Ryan's and Brad's show. I'll do anything. And in fact, when I signed my first contract, it had quotation marks. It didn't have the character's name. I didn't know what I was going to be doing, and I didn't care because I knew it'd be good.
The TV and film landscape, it's constantly changing, but traditional actor training has largely remained the same.
It's focused on a theater model whose main goal is to help you stretch the expression of your instrument. That's why you can have years of training,
from scene study classes to audition classes,
to even an MFA, and still not be able to book a 2-line co-star.
That's why we created The Bridge for Actors,
a collection of tech, craft, and business online courses to teach you the skills that you need to go from a student of acting
to a working actor.
It would be so good.
And how yeah.
Well, so then you go to recur on season 2, right? Season 3, season 4. And they make you series regular season 6? Is that
because of again, I'll say whatever, because you know what? The way I look at it, we're looking for a job when we got that one.
Yes.
We have nothing to lose. So we were at the 100th episode party, and Ryan and I were talking, and he said, Dot Marie, I have big plans for your character next season. And in my head, sometimes I probably should think a little bit more, but I'm like, what you see is what you get. I got nothing to hide. He said, I got big plans for your character next season. I said, really? It better be a fucking series regular. Excuse my language.
No, good.
He goes, what? And I said, you heard me, Ryan. He goes, is that what you want? And I said, I have 3 Emmy nominations. I've worked my ass off. Absolutely, it's what I want. And he goes, well, then that's what we'll do. But then you know how you never know. And they came through.
I'm so glad you said it like that too, because that's the other thing of, it's one thing to talk about auditions.
Right.
We try to get the job, right? And then you get the job, and then you have to learn the business of the job. Then it's like, okay, now you're working on a series, and I'll take Glee out of it. You're working on any series.
Right.
But you're doing like 9 out of 10 episodes, and they're paying you a guest star rate, but you're doing the same work as a series regular.
For 4 years. I did that.
For 4 years, and to be nominated 3 consecutive years in a row for a guest star on, like, yes.
And guest stars, and believe me, I am so grateful and so thankful for that job. And I'm sure you know this. Mm-hmm. People think you're a millionaire because you were on that show. I was not making series regular pay. I was probably making 1/8 of series regular pay. I was making top of the show.
Okay. So I'm going to dig into the business of this a little bit. Mm-hmm. When you get nominated for a guest star on a show like that, are they paying for your publicity push for that too? Because also a lot of people don't know, when you get nominated, sometimes you have to pay for yourself to be in contention for that. So I'm curious, if you remember, did they front the bill, or?
No, I had to pay to enter myself in the Emmys.
And then you had to
unless you're series regular. What, honey? I'm sorry.
And then you probably had to pay for a publicist. Am I right?
I did get a publicist. Yes. And you pay your, $200 entry fee to enter your work, and you have to get your clips and all that stuff. So Colin, which they were so gracious, and I love everybody over there. And they were just so helpful, because I still feel like I don't know anything.
Well, we're always learning. I think that at every level of this, it's like, yay, I got the series regular. What's the laundry list of things I need to learn about now? Oh, I didn't realize that, right? You don't know what you don't know until you do.
And I've been doing this almost October, this month is either 33 or 34 years I've been doing this. And it's like, I still feel like I started last week.
So how do you handle that emotional reframe? Like when you get an audition, Dot, I'm so curious, because I feel like you've done such a beautiful job over 34 years of yes, we all get typecasts. We'd rather be typecast than not cast. But then you've got these amazing roles that just break you out of that box. So how do you approach auditions? Are you getting a lot that feels the same? So then you can be like, oh, okay, I'm just going to borrow this homework from before. I already know this character. I've done it a million times. Or like you said, you feel like you're new every time.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how do you approach new projects or auditions that come through?
Well, I don't want to be one of the things I try to think of too is I don't want to be redundant. I don't want them to be, well, they've seen that. They're not going to bring that back. That's been done. And it's like, I keep going back to, was in 23 when I did this show, Killing It. And I had a reoccurring on there, which was so much fun. Right now it's like, well, I've always tried to keep this mindset is I want to have fun. Mm-hmm. I want to have fun, and I just want to go in, have fun. And if I don't get it, I want somebody I like to get it, or a friend to get it, and it's a Rochambeau, paper, scissors, rock. We'll see who's going to get it. And hopefully I made better choices, or not even better, but different. Mm-hmm. Maybe I show them something they never thought they'd see, which is one of the reasons I said, if it calls for a guy, send me in. I don't care. They're not going to hurt my feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. I think that probably is the thing that maybe was a transitional moment of you changing the trajectory of your career not always being typecast, you being able to grab certain things. If nothing else, I hope people glean that from this interview, is just like what box does the industry put you in? And then how can you play outside of that to diversify? So it's not just a job. You've made a career, Dot. This is like, you have to scroll and scroll and scroll. You've been invited to so many different sets. Like, you're the epitome of a damn good working actor. Like, nobody can take, you show up in everything, truly. Like, name something. And then, because then you go on to do American Horror Story. Once you start relationships,
right,
your whole resume kind of spider veins out from so many different connections. Before I get to my next one that I want to ask, since you said you have so many of that one auditions, is there another one that comes to mind that you want to share?
I did a guest star on Roseanne back in 07, and I played a big time wrestler. And it's funny because I wore Lady Battleaxe's outfit on the audition.
You did?
Yeah, because I had it. I kept everything. That was back in 91, 92. And so I went in, and Laurie Metcalf lived down the road from me where I used to live over in Studio City. And we knew each other. And plus, when I did Knights and Warriors, Roseanne's stage was right here. Ours was right next to hers. And our dressing rooms were on Roseanne's stage. And so that's back in like 91. So we'd see them every day. In fact, that's how Sandra Bernhardt and I became friends, is we saw each other every day at work. And she's still one of my longest friends. We talk a lot, and I love her to death. But Laurie and I'd see each other. So when I did the thing, the episode's called Roseannefeld, like Seinfeld, but Roseannefeld. And it's about the kids wanting to go to this big time wrestling deal. And so Laurie ends up going there, and I pick her out of the audience to come in the ring and wrestle with me. And I'm like, I have her, Laurie Metcalf, who I love her to death. She's amazing. And I spin her, I have her across my shoulders like a fireman carry, spin her around, and I slam her on the ground. But when I slam her on the ground, I'm trying to sell it to make it look like I'm really slamming her on the ground. And she sold it so good, but I'm holding her like a baby. You know what I mean? I'm like, God, please, God, don't let me hurt her. I don't want to say any names, but it was just a ugly situation because it was a stunt woman who kicked me. We're in the ring, and we're doing a pre-tape on a Friday. We're doing a pre-tape on a Friday, which means no audience. Or I'm sorry, a Thursday. So Friday night was a live audience, Thursday, no audience. So we're doing a pre-tape. And one of the other girls, Faith Mittens, who's a fantastic stunt woman, Faith has me in a full Nelson, which means her arms are up under mine. She's got me like this. My arms are out like this. The other woman was in front of me and kicking at me, and the cameras were behind her. So I just had to sell it like she really hit me. Well, she kicked me 3 times. Between the boobs, which thank God I don't have big boobs, but she kicked me 3 times here and once like right at the base of my rib, like where your xiphoid process. And I was so mad, and I broke free. I said, let me go, Faith, as soon as they said cut. And I said, what the hell is your problem? And she said, what? And I said, you kicked me 3 times. There's no reason for you to even be close to me. And she said, what? I only did this. And she went to kick me again to show me how hard she thought she kicked me. So I have an Irish temper. So I grabbed her foot and I ran her into the wrestling ring ropes. And I said, you touch me again and I'll effing take you out. Ooh. And I didn't know, but Roseanne was watching it on the monitor going, hit her, hit her, hit her. And I'm like, okay, I'm good with Roseanne. But then Laurie Metcalf came up to me because Laurie and I were talking, when we were in rehearsals, we were talking about, I think some house in the neighborhood that looked like a cabin we loved that was for sale. So we're standing there on the corners on the ropes, and she's here. And this woman goes, well, Dot's going to grab me and flip me into the ring. And she's already in the ring saying this. Well, she does a flip right there and kicks Laurie in the legs.
Oh, no. I'm
like, what the hell are you doing?
What's happening?
She's like out of control. She's the kind that's going to hurt somebody.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so cut to all that crap happened. We got through it. Everything was great. It was a hilarious episode. And the next week, Marcy Carsey called me herself from Carsey Warner Television, because, you know, CBS Radford. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh, God, am I in trouble? But she called and she asked how I was. And I said, oh, my God, I'm fine. And she said that she loved what I did on that episode and stuff. And she said, have you ever choreographed a fight? I said, well, Marsh, I said, I do my own stunts. I said, who the hell's going to double me? Yeah. And she laughed. And she said, I said, what do you have? And she said, well, we have this little fight scene in the backyard between Roseanne and Debbie Reynolds. I'm like, I'm in. I am so in. I went that next week and worked all week with Debbie Reynolds, who kicked my butt for 5 days. And then Roseanne would come in and go, yeah, we'll do it when we shoot it. And I'm like, Rosie, you got to know how to do this and blah, blah, blah. One of the things is before I had the stunt people or the crew get me a rubber breakaway shovel, they had a real one. And Debbie went, I want to do this. And she missed my face by that much with a real shovel. And I'm like, okay, but I didn't care. I was working with Debbie Reynolds, having the time of my life. You know, kid me. I don't care. I'll take a few stitches. I'll probably get more work with scars. And you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so it was amazing.
Dot, I love how just you being so in alignment with your talent, with your authenticity, that jobs have just been like, hey, can you do this? Can you also try this? Can you come over here? And we're just wondering what we could do here. Right. That takes such a versatile person, a yes and person. I'm curious, in that audition for Roseanne, the first audition, and you went in your outfit because you had it. Was anybody else there in like wrestling attire?
Yeah, but more... I looked like a beast because I'm so big, and it was black and it had all this headgear and stuff. And I was like I say, I have nothing to lose. And they had like outfits and stuff like you see with the female wrestler, because they were smaller. So they're going to wear, you know, the cute, I don't want to say more feminine. I know what you're saying.
Yes. The cutesy wrestlers.
Yeah, which I am not cutesy. So I feel like I can say that. But that's not a bad thing. It's just, you know, I mean, I outweigh him probably by 100 pounds.
Well, it's also just knowing your instrument. Like I always joke with my team, I play class and trash. I don't have to do much to play a bitch. I got sharp features. Is this a bitchy role? Okay, well, I don't have to put anything on because here it is. Is it a girl next door? I need to smile a little bit more. I need to like amp up certain things so they don't think of me a certain way. But
you got to keep using your bitch hitch.
Yeah.
That's what I call that.
Yeah, exactly. I have to ask about your last project that I've gotten to see that has gone viral. The Crossing Over Express. I don't know what, I'm already starting to cry. How I want to ask this. You've been working for so long on so many like levels and scales of projects, from television to film, small budget, big budget. How did this come to you? And what was your impetus and involvement? Because this is one of the better shorts I've seen put together. And then just the spider vein of everybody getting to see it. It's remarkable. It's overwhelming. I've watched it like 10 times. I'm not kidding. Luke did such a great job. Yes. So I'm curious how you decide when to do projects and how you do them, because this is a short and some people might be like, whatever. I don't need to do this. Like I could not. So I'd love to know the whole story.
Brittany asked me if I'd do it for her friend.
That's our manager for people that are listening.
And she said, read it. Let me know what you think. And I read because I just lost my mom 3 years ago. It made me cry that day. But Luke is so incredible. And it was so done, not heavy-handed, which that's something that could have been, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I almost felt like my character was a little too silly, but it worked. It worked with the contrast of like whether I'm beating on the door saying it's not a confession. And the response, like it had over 500,000 views in 72 hours. Yes. And I'm like, I've never been a part of something like that in a short. And it's like, you know what? It doesn't matter. Like you were saying, if it's a 10-minute short, if like that one's an 11-minute short, it's good. And
it's so good.
And it's heart and it's soul, and it's so many people resonate with it. I've read the comments and I'm just bawling.
Yeah. The comments section, I think people feel really seen. We all experience death, at any point what we're going to. And then Luke having the idea to put this into, like, art is healing, right? So to go through that expression, to put it in this container, there is humor with it. It's beautiful humor. I'm curious how you approach that role, like just script analysis wise, or like, the actory part of it. If you're willing to give like one or two things other than just reading the script, how do you kind of inhabit, Dr. Gale? Like what was your kind of, because you do have this experience, you could put so much on it, but even you saying like she felt a little silly, it could be gimmicky. Right? Yeah. Even what they're doing could possibly be deemed gimmicky. So I'm just curious, even if you don't want to use this project, anything else that you kind of tap into, kind of how you resurrect your ideas around what you're going to do.
Right. For that one, I read it and, it's Luke's story and you want to do it justice. And I ask questions and I'm like, are you, we ran it through just that. I don't think we did over a Zoom deal, but that day it was so, oh my God, it just felt like it was something that we had done a million times. Meaning us together, that the three of us and Ron Song is unbelievable, because I had just recently had seen him in Jury Duty and he's hilarious. It's a fine line between giving them exactly what he wants and making it exactly what Luke wants and adding your own little nuances or something to it,
Yes.
Like, I threw in "You're welcome." That was mine. When I'm talking about the book, I'm like, "You're welcome." Pretty good read, right? And "You're welcome." and they were so fun. And we shot, I mean, my God, I think I was in and out of there in less than 4 or 5 hours. Yes,
this is a very contained piece. I think for anybody, any filmmaker, anybody that's desiring to be a filmmaker, they always say, write what you know.
Exactly.
Keep it contained to the best of your ability, keep the budget down. I think a lot of people seek to go viral that don't have a message, right? They just want to be seen for whatever reason. And then there's something about having a message that is just so relatable. And in this container, kudos. Well done. So like as soon as the truck opens and you see you, it's already, I don't know. It already you have that presence that brings you in. I want to know what you're going to say. I want to know the first thing that comes out of your mouth. Like I'm eager to hear what that is. And that's just
very kind. And that means a lot. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you. One, for sitting down and doing this and letting me like pick in at little pieces on how you've built a career. I think a lot of people start later. They start in their 30s or they start in their 40s and they're like, I don't know how this is ever going to work or what I'm going to do. But sometimes just one foot in front of the other. Yeah.
I was 27, so never say never, and it's never too late.
Yeah.
I mean, look at some of the older actors. I had the privilege of doing a film with June Squibb, who's going to be 95 next month. And that woman is one of the most amazing women I've ever met in my life. And I knew her prior to, it's called Lost and Found in Cleveland. She's so incredible. And if you can watch Thelma, you want to see a good actress, watch Thelma, because that just came out recently. And June I admire to be like that. I wish I had her memory now, let alone when I'm 94.
Yeah, you get just let's go for that. You got another 30 plus years to like really execute that. Is there any piece of business advice or anything that you would advise on doing differently from your own career, or something that you wish you would have known at some point in your career that would have helped? Maybe from the business side.
I just talked about it at this festival I was just at, and One of the things that I've made a promise to myself and to my mom, that I would never do anything that is degrading to women, or I wouldn't want my nieces and nephews to see. I mean, yeah, maybe at a certain age, but, you know, the young ones, of course, with the foul language and stuff. If it's done tastefully, I'll do it. But if you're going to disrespect me because of my size and make me the ass of your joke, I'm out.
Good for you.
And I have turned down a job.
Have you? You have said,
oh, yeah.
Because of those exact reasons. I mean, honestly, Dot, I think if even just you pushing to be seen, no matter what the gender, I truly think that is like a pivotal moment for people to really like latch onto, that like having a team that can see you in your entirety and then allowing the world to kind of meet you there, the industry to meet you there. Because I feel like that's when you were already working, but then you got away from the typecast. Now you can still do these roles, but then look at all these other, Dr. Gale is a remarkable, amazing character that I can't see it on anybody else. It wouldn't work the same. It would not work the same between you and Luke in that truck. Everything just is so beautiful. I want people to like run and go watch the Crossing Over Express.
I can't tell you how many times I've watched it.
And
every time I watch it, I cry.
I cry every time.
Every time. And it's like, and I know, we know what's coming. And here it comes. Yeah.
Every single time. You're such a joy. Thank you for sitting down. Where can everybody find you or follow along? I don't know if you're on Instagram or just shout out the 7 television. Or you've got what? 1, 2, 3, 4 films coming out. You've got some stuff. You're working.
Yeah. Hopefully Lost and Found in Cleveland is going to be at Newport Beach Film Festival next weekend. So hopefully,
are you going to be there? I have a film opening there too.
What night?
We have 2 showings on Saturday and 1 on Tuesday.
I'll be there. I think we have something Friday and then the film show Saturday.
Yeah.
I think Saturday night. What's your film?
Mine's called Bull Run.
Bull Run? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I'll see if I can pop in and see yours. I would love that. So Lost and Found in Cleveland at Newport. Yeah. Does Feathered, Quarter, Gary's Going to Rehab, Don't Tell Larry, do those have premiere dates yet? Don't Tell Larry is so silly. It's so funny. And with some amazing comedians that are in it. And I just, oh my God, it was fun. The other ones, I'm not sure what they're doing with them. I mean, I just want Luke to get a series from this. I hope so. Let's put that out there, because that would be a series or a film. I mean, it should be a series. That truck, you could go on. It could be turned. Yeah, you could do it as a procedural. Truly, every episode could be a new experience of the person who steps into that truck. Right. Let's just put that out there. I love that. I love that. Right on, sister. I love that. Dot, do you have social where people can follow along with you? Yes. On Twitter. I'm still Twitter. It's Dot Jones, and on Instagram it's all lowercase .Marie Jones. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, sweetheart, it's honestly my pleasure.